be a really interesting session, and it's going to be a really important session because the topic of this session, many of you guys would have seen from the email that we sent out. It's something that is certainly the most important thing or the most important aspect on working on your speech. And that is one thing that plays the whole part, right? So, we are going to be talking about the topic of focus. Focus has a lot to do in terms of your mindset, in terms of your speech, in your life as well. So, we are going to try to have it in one single session, and there is going to be a lot of interesting content out there. If you guys have something to ask, something to mention in between, you can always feel free to write down any message you want inside the chat box right here. Or the people who are watching us live on YouTube, feel free to leave your questions and comments right there. We would try to respond to them in between the session as well. And we would try to get to most of them towards the end of this session. So that is how we are going to be moving forward with it. All right, so let's get straight into it without any further ado. Focus. What is focus? Certainly, one thing that you can do in life is choose what to focus on, whether it be your professional life, whether it be your social life, whether it be work, whatever it is. What you can do is only choose where this focus goes. Because where the focus goes, your life starts to go in that direction. Think of focus like your own personal sunlight that you can point at whatever seed you like. And whatever seed you point it towards, it starts to grow. For a long, long time, many of you people who are watching us right now might have been focusing on stuttering, stammering, why it happened to me, why it always happens to me. The rest of the people can speak well. I get stuck. I have a hard time speaking. So, for your whole life, certainly what you have been doing is you have been focusing a lot on stuttering, focusing a lot on stammering, on speech disfluencies. And the point is that when you focus on something a lot, it starts to grow. Even when you try to search out for solutions to it, how can I get rid of it? How can I overcome stammering? When you're trying to search for a solution, you're still doing the same thing. Because when you look out there, many of the systems, many of the people focus on how to get rid of stuttering, how to eliminate stuttering, how to overcome stuttering. Even when you're trying to find a solution, what you're essentially doing is you're constantly focusing on the aspect of stuttering, of stammering, how to not stutter, how to not stammer, how to not get stuck. But in all mental workings, effort defeats itself. And you guys have seen it by yourself. The more you focus on it, the more you get into it. The more you try to stop stuttering, the more it happens. So you're going to do a presentation, you're going to speak one on one with someone, this constant focus. I hope I don't mess up. I hope I don't get stuck. I hope I don't stutter. And that is exactly what happens right there, right? So it all has to do with that. And if we can take care of that focus, both long term and short term, if we can take care of that anticipation, that worry, we can start to put our speech on towards the next level, right? The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about focus with respect to your long term focus. And then I'm going to switch on towards your short term focus. And by short term, I also, in essence, mean long term. By short term, I mean what you need to consistently be focusing on every single day, every single speaking situation over a long period of time. So you need to take care of this focus short term as well and long term as well. Let's start with long term. Just a moment ago, I mentioned about the fact that focusing on trying to stop stuttering, trying to stop stammering, trying to eliminate it, trying to not get stuck, it's not helpful.
Okay.
What
How
is
do
helpful?
we?
Yeah. Yeah. So then what is helpful actually? Trying to not stutter, trying to not stammer, it's same like if right now I ask you to not focus on a red car in your mind right now. Don't get the image of a red car in your mind right now. Now, while I say that, what would happen is that most of you, if not all of you, would be having the image of a red car in your mind. And what's the reason for that? Because I asked you not to focus on it. When you say don't focus on something, your mind goes out and look for, all right, we don't have to focus on a red car. What is a red car? And then it gets the image and everything in your mind. That is where the focus goes on towards it. In the same way, when you try to focus on not stuttering, not stammering, your mind says, what is a stuttering? What is a stammering? So while saying, I don't want to do that, you're focusing on that. And your focus is having you have a hard time with speech and speaking. Same goes with words. People say that I can't say this word. I can't say my name. I always stutter on this word. I always stutter on that word. But you would have also noticed various situations where you can say those words with ease, with no issues at all. It means that the issue is not with the words. The issue is not that a word is hard to say or a word is hard to speak. It's mostly because of the focus that you are putting on it. Because of the past unsuccessful speaking experiences, whenever that word comes up, your focus goes on towards that. When your focus goes on towards that, you start to anticipate, you start to worry. Oh, what if I get stuck? Oh, what if I have a hard time? What would the people say? What if I force out a word? And when you start to focus on it a lot, it makes you get stuck. But you would have also noticed that you are speaking, you say some words, and after you speak, you look back and say, how was I able to say that word? Or how was I able to say those words? I have always struggled in the past saying those words, right? Why it happened? It happened because for some reason, while you were speaking, you were in a flow, you weren't anticipating that word or those words, you weren't worried about that, and you just said it with ease. It means that the whole game lies around focus, it lies around anticipation. Your focus, in short, your focus makes you get stuck, right? So that is how certainly it plays out. Now we know that, all right, we don't need to focus on how to not get stuck. We don't need to focus on how to not stutter, how to not stammer. So, what do we need to focus on? If we have to work on our speech, we have to take our speech towards the next level. What is something that we do need to focus on? As I mentioned towards the start, there's something long term and there is something short term. Let's first start with the long term thing. Even when you join the Pro 90 speech system, let's say, to work on your speech, don't get in with the goal that I'm going to work on my speech so that I can reach a place where I cannot stutter, where I cannot stammer. Because our focus, the focus of the Pro 90 speech system, is to help you be an amazing and excellent speaker. We are not even focused on helping you how to not get stuck, how to not stutter, how to not stammer, because that starts to happen on its own once you start to work on your speech and once you start to take your speech towards the next level. So let's say you're right here now, you get stuck, you have a hard time speaking, and the average person out there is right here. So our focus is not to try to get you right here. Our focus is to try to get you towards here. try to work with you on your speech in order to help you become an excellent and amazing speaker. So, the first long term focus that you need to have when you start working on your speech is that I want to be a smooth and amazing speaker. Not that I don't want to stutter, I don't want to stammer. Your long term focus when you look out there in the future, have your goal as I want to be the best speaking version of myself. I want to be an excellent speaker. I want to be an amazing speaker. I know this may sound a bit weird for someone who struggles with their speech. They might be like, I get stuck, I have a hard time, so how can I be an amazing and excellent speaker? This is something that I've heard a lot. But because you have a hard time speaking, you have the opportunity to work on your speech even more than someone else might do. In fact, when you go out there, when you look at people, and if you let them know that, hey, I'm working on my speech, they would be like, what's working on your speech? How do you work on your speech? So the people, for the most part, they don't even work on their speech. They don't even work on their speaking skills. Because we had a history with speech, because we struggle with our speech, life has given us an opportunity to work on our speech and become the best speaker that we can. The way that Michael speaks, the way that I speak, the way that most of the clients who have worked with us speak, like Japheth is right here, I don't think they would have spoken like this if they had not struggled with their speech and if they had not worked on their speech. At least for myself, I wouldn't have been speaking like this if I had not struggled with my speech. Maybe I would be at a place where I would not stutter, stammer, but I would have been a very shy person, a very average speaker. But that struggle made me join the system, and I joined and I got to know that the goal of the system, which sets this system unique from all the rest of the systems out there, I haven't seen something like that at least, that the goal shifts on towards how to be an amazing and excellent speaker. Because everything that you're going to learn inside the system, let it be modeling, let it be speaking skills, let it be strategies to work on your mindset, your speaking identity, all the work that you're doing is going to help you become a very, very good and a superb speaker and above average speaker. In fact, the Pro 90 speech system says if you're working on your speech, why to only work to not get stuck? You are working on your speech, right? So why not to work to become an excellent and amazing speaker, to become a smooth speaker, to become a very fluent speaker? Because guess what? When that would happen, stuttering and stammering would start to take care by itself. Because one can't actually be a great and excellent speaker while stuttering, stammering, and all of that. So once you work on towards smoothing out your speech, these things take care of themselves. Yesterday, I was speaking to one of my clients that I'm working with right now, and he said that, hey, I've been working with you, I've been working with this speech system for a while. And just yesterday, I did a speech, I did a presentation, and I did not stutter. The moment he said that, I said that, all right, it's very good that you're experiencing these successes, but don't measure these successes in terms of stuttering and stammering. I'm working on my speech, so I'm not stuttering, I'm not stammering. Even if you look out there on your successes, look at them as now I'm speaking more smoothly. Now I'm speaking more fluently. Because at some point, you need to disassociate yourself with words like stuttering, stammering, all words like that. Because the more you say those words and the more you associate yourself with those words, the more it sits into your mind that, hey, I'm someone who stutters, I'm someone who stammers, I'm someone who has a hard time speaking. And that starts to show in your speech. If you use these words, stop using these words for yourself from now. Even when you're working on your speech, it's good to look back and realize that, hey, now you don't get stuck. But it's not advisable, at least, to look at it like, I'm not stuttering now, I'm not stammering now. Although we know that's happening and we want that, but try not to focus on it alone. Try not to associate yourself with it alone. See it in terms of I'm speaking more smoothly. I'm speaking more fluently. Even when you're going into speaking situations that is something that we are just going to talk about, go in with the goal of speaking more smoothly, of speaking more fluently. Now, how do we actually do that? We are going to speak about it in a bit, right? So the first goal is to be the best speaking version of yourself that you want to be. Now, how do you get there? The Pro 90 speed system works with you on your mindset. It works with you on the physical aspect of speaking, all the speaking skills and everything. And it works with you on your speaking identity that I just mentioned about. How do you look at yourself as a speaker? How do you perceive yourself as a speaker? Because even if you speak well most of the times, but you still look at yourself like I stutter, I stammer, it's going to show up in you. It's going to show up in your speech. So it's really important to work on your speaking identity. That's part of the mindset. Then it's really important to work on the mindset and the physical aspect of speaking. Now, Michael has been doing it for a long time now. I've been working with people for more than 2 years now. I believe that it's mostly psychological. It's all about the fears. It's all about hoping to not get stuck. I hope, I wish I don't get stuck. What if I get stuck? Fearing about the consequences if you get stuck. It's mostly about that. So working on the so working on the mindset and working on the identity is very important that many systems out there miss. They just focus on the physical aspect. All right, speak like this, or slow down, or do this, or do that. But it's very important to work on these aspects as well, right? The goal should be right to be the best speaking version of yourself. And then you need to follow this system and you need to work on your mindset, speaking, identity, as well as all of the speaking skills. Now, it's not something that you start working on your speech and it starts to work right at the start. It does start to work right at the start, but you have to realize the fact that it takes time for the new speaking style to become automatic, for the new speaking style to become effortless, where it happens on its own. In the process, you're going to experience the highs as well, and you're going to experience some lows as well. Look at it like this. Let's say you're right here now, and you want to work on your speech and you want to get to right here. So the journey is not going to be a straight line like this. The journey is going to be more like this. You're moving high, you're moving low, high, low, high, low. But if you see, the overall movement is still upwards. The next high is always higher than the previous high. As long as you keep doing that consistent amount of work on your speech, as long as you keep doing that consistent repetition over time of speech practices, of mental practices, of using your new speaking style in every single situation, every single time that we are going to speak about in the next part, your overall movement is going to be upwards. Yes, you're going to experience some highs. Yes, you're going to experience some lows. But as long as you keep doing the work, you'll keep moving upwards. Before I move forward, Michael, are you right here? Would you like to add on something?
Yes, Farouk. You've pretty much hit the nail on the head in terms of uh, not focusing on the things that you actually don't want to do. We've heard that for many years, and we've probably done it ourselves. And we can tell when we're doing it because of the language that we use. Like, I hope I don't. I don't want to. Even if we don't articulate that verbally, it may be running in the back of the mind. Don't this word. And so this idea of focusing, especially not focusing on the things that you don't want to happen, is probably more important than what people may think. So one of the walkaways or one of the takeaways is for people to take some time to become aware of what you're thinking on a moment to moment basis, daily basis, especially in speaking situations, before speaking situations and during speaking situations. What kinds of things are you thinking about? Are you actually thinking about, oh, don't want to? And then once you become aware of that, then you can begin to change that path of thinking. So, yeah, very, very important to get a hold of that. That can sabotage your speech just by not focusing on the things that you need to, or by focusing on something that you don't want.
Right, Michael. Thank you for that. And yeah, that is really important. First, you have to be aware of the fact that you're focusing on something that you shouldn't focus on. Only then you can change it. In the first go, if you don't even know that, because you might have been doing it for such a long time that you don't even notice it happening now. It just happens, and you don't even know that you're focusing on it. You don't even know that you're focusing on something that you shouldn't really focus on. So, first, know that that happens, and only then you can change it. Only then you can change that focus and focus on what you want, right? So now let's move on towards the next part of it that mostly deals with what your focus should be every single day in every single speaking situation when you go out and you have to speak to people. Because once again, the focus of most of the people who have struggled with their speech in the past, whenever they get into a speaking situation, whenever they get into a speaking moment, their focus goes on towards the words. They start to anticipate a lot of words. They start to worry about the words. They start to worry about the fact that if I have a hard time, what would my boss think? What would my friends think? What if this happens? What if that happens? And like we just explained towards the start, that focus is making you having a hard time with your speech. So, what you need to do, you can't focus on not doing that, right? You can't focus on how to not get stuck because, like we mentioned, it's not helpful at all. You can't stop that focus that I don't have to focus on it. I don't have to focus on it. I don't have to focus on it. But what you can do absolutely is that you can replace that focus with something else. Instead of focusing on what your mind is focusing on right now, you can replace the focus with something else. Now, what is that something else? That something else is your new speaking style that you need to be focusing on in every single speaking situation. Every time you open your mouth to speak, you shall be focusing on using your new speaking style, right? Many of the people say that, let's say, when I go into a speaking situation, let's start with something very basic that we have been mentioning in a lot of our sessions, focusing on breathing and slowing down as you speak. Many people say that I can't focus on breathing and slowing down, or I can't focus on modeling. I can't focus on this because I have to focus on the content that I have to say. If I focus on using my new speaking style, how would I be able to focus on the content that I have to say? I hear it over and over again from almost every single client, and I'm sure Michael has been hearing it for a whole number of years. But essentially, if you look at it, you can. Because while you're saying the content, while you're saying what you have to say, you still focus on the fact, I hope I don't get stuck. You still focus on the words that you have to say. You still worry about the words that you have to say. So while speaking, while saying the content that you have to say, if you can focus on that, it means that you can also focus on something else. You can also focus on using your new speaking style. You can focus on modeling, let's say. You can focus on breathing and slowing down, right? So, in every speaking situation, try to make sure that you are having to put at least 80% of your focus on towards using your new speaking style. And you let the 20% trust yourself that you're going to say what you want to say, right? You don't have to really believe me or believe us. I want you to try it out for yourself. Go out there, speak to someone. Instead of focusing on content a lot, start to focus on using your new speaking style a lot. Because the content, if you're fluent in a language, your mind knows what to say. You know how to say it. You know what words to use. You probably just need to focus on the main idea. All right, I need to get up to him and I need to speak about this. That's it. You don't need to focus on first, I would say this word, then I would say that word. First, I would say this sentence, then I would say that sentence. You don't have to do that at all because you're fluent in a language. If you're not fluent in a language, if you're learning a new language, then you might need to. I want to say this. Now, what's that word called in this language? But if not, you really don't need to do that. You just need to focus on the main idea that I need to speak about this, and then put your focus towards using your new speaking style. At least 80% of your focus on towards using your new speaking style because right now it's not going to happen on its own, especially if you have been struggling with your speech for a long time now. You speak fast, you chop off your words. So the new speaking style, it's not going to be automatic right now. You would have to put a lot of attention, a lot of focus on that new speaking style. Speaking about that, the one thing that we have been mentioning in almost every single session, and that can really show you guys the importance of that, it's the idea of breathing and slowing down. We often find that just this idea, focusing on breathing and slowing down, or breathing and extending out your words, it gives people more than 80% of their speech improvements. Just this idea. It's not the only single thing inside the system, but it has a huge role to play. Michael, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something really quick.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
please.
and you may mention this, and so I won't go into detail, but one little tool, you can call it a trick, if you will, shift your focus in the morning in the moment is, for example, the airflow, the free flow speaking tool that we have, right? Free flow speaking exercise. So when you shift your focus to just for example, maintaining airflow, and what begins to happen is you're now unable to focus on other things, like getting stuck with certain words. So in one part of our free flow speaking exercise, we just have you take a super deep breath and speak until you run. And almost inevitably, we see people instantly and immediately speak smoother. And the reason is because they're not focused on what they usually focus on. And this is something that you'll need to do over and over to turn this new pattern of speaking into a habit. So we have the four phases. I'm not going to go through those now, but each of the phases addresses your speech in a different way. But my point is, it shifts your focus, like Farouk said. You're now not focused on words, you're not focused on critics, you're focused on maintaining airflow. And believe it or not, in that moment, you're also able to say exactly what you want to say. Even though you've shifted your focus on maintaining airflow, you still can say, you can still articulate your thoughts. So, like Farouk said, you want to trust that you'll still be able to provide the content, articulate your thought, while at the same time shifting your focus to your speaking style, to airflow. You do have the ability to do it, and we can prove it. We can prove it. That's all that.
Thank you for that. So yeah, extremely, extremely important. All right. So moving forward with the session, just like Michael mentioned, it's extremely important to shift that focus right in the moment. The moment you find yourself focusing on the words, the moment you find yourself anticipating a lot, bringing your focus towards breathing and slowing down, bringing your focus towards free flow speaking or speaking in a flow. Or if we can say them all together, it would be focusing on breathing, extending, and blending as you speak, right? So, extending helps you to slow down your speech, and blending or linking or airflow linking, it helps you to flow with your speech. And these are the two main issues that people have. First issue is that the people speak really, really fast. So by slowing down, by extending more of their words, they start to feel more in control of your speech, of their speech. The more they start to breathe, the more they start to extend out their words or stretch out their words, the more they feel in control of their speech. The more they start to link their words, the more they start to airflow link their words, the more they feel like their speech is flowing instead of chopping off every word, or instead of speaking word by word, or instead of speaking in short phrases. So if I'm extending, my speech would sound like this. And if I'm not extending, my speech would sound like this. So by extending, I can slow down my speech. If I'm not linking my words, my speech would sound like this. And if I'm linking my words, my speech would sound like this. And when it becomes a combination of breathing, extending, and blending, that is where it takes your speech towards the next level. Speaking about breathing, breathing is extremely, extremely important because without breath, you can't extend. Without breath, you can't blend. Without breath, obviously, you can't even live. But without deep breathing, it would be really hard for you to extend, to blend, and to move forward with your speech. It would be extremely hard for me to hold my breath like this and speak and then extend and blend. So you need to make sure that you bring your focus constantly towards breathe, slow down, breathe, extend, and blend your words. So breathing, extending, and blending sounds like this. So when I'm breathing and extending and blending my words, my speech would be sounding more like this. So you would find that I'm slowing down, I'm extending my words, and I'm speaking in a flow. I'm connecting the words together, I'm linking the words together instead of speaking word by word, instead of anticipating words, instead of worrying about words. Because once you start to link your words, once you start to flow with your speech, that anticipation starts to get less and less because now you don't feel like that I'm speaking word by word. I have to say this word, that word, that word, that word. Now you're feeling like you're saying one long word. Now you feel like you're saying one long word. The sound kept on going. Now you feel like you are saying a one long word, like there is no gap in between. That does not mean I don't want you to pause. So pause, breathe, extend and blend your words. Pause, breathe, extend and blend your words. Pause, breathe, extend and blend your words. It's going to have a tremendous impact on your speech, right? Whenever you're going into speaking situations, even while you're speaking in speaking situations, this is something that you would need to remind yourself of 40 times, 50 times, 60 times, because you would find that in the moment you focus on, hey, I have to speak slow. In the next moment, you would be speaking fast because of habit. Then you would have to bring the focus back. Then you would speak in your old way again. Then you would have to bring the focus back. It all has to do with focus, where you are focusing towards. A constant focus needs to be in there. while you're going into speaking situations, constant reminder, hey, breathe, relax, slow down, or breathe, extend and blend, breathe, extend and blend. A lot of self talk has to be going on right there. Then, even while you're in speaking situations, you need to constantly speak to yourself at the back of your mind, letting yourself know what you need to focus on. Because if you don't, your mind would focus on what it usually focuses on. And that is the words, worrying about them, wanting to not get stuck. Yes, we do want to not get stuck, but by focusing on it, we can't do that. By focusing on trying to not get stuck, it wouldn't be helpful. So the moment you find yourself focusing towards that, shift your focus towards using your new speaking style. So your mind starts to worry about what you have to say, focus on breathing, extending, and blending. The next moment, your mind would be worrying again, breathing, extending, and blending. Next moment, again, breathing, extending, and blending. That constant focus shift, focus change needs to be there until long term, as you keep moving forward, you don't need to do that, right? Because as you move forward, your mind would really start to train itself on focusing on towards what you want. So, in short, what we just said so far in this short time is that try not to focus on the words and everything. Focusing on the content does not mean focusing on the words. Try to just have that main idea in your mind that, all right, I need to speak about this. And then bring your entire focus towards using your new speaking style or breathing, extending, and blending, like we just said. And you would find that that negative focus, that negative anticipation would start to lessen because you can't focus on both things at the same time. You're anticipating, breathing, extending, and blending. Both things can't go hand in hand. So you're replacing that focus with this focus. And that is where the previous one starts to lessen. You have something to add right here, Michael?
Yeah, just really quick, I wanted to add that this whole idea of focusing and what we're focusing on. The good news is that these are patterns. They're patterns of thinking, right? So our whole system is based on the fact, scientific fact, that you and I can change our thinking patterns, we can change our speaking pattern, and we can change our beliefs. So this is important and it's great news because what we do is we help you identify the patterns that need to be changed. And then we give you a systematic process to change those patterns. So what you focus on or what you don't focus on a daily basis, on a moment to moment basis, we are helping you identify that. And then we're giving you a process to change those patterns of thinking, to change that focus. And that should be good news. It should give you hope because it means that no matter how you've been speaking or feeling or thinking, you can change it. You can create a new pattern of focusing. Therefore, you can change or you can create a new pattern of speaking.
Yeah, Michael. So that is exactly how that goes. Because these are habits, because these are patterns, the good news is that you can change them. Many people don't believe that it is a habit, so they feel like it's something, there's something wrong inside myself, and that is going to last forever. But when you know it's a habit, and as simple as it sounds, you just need to replace that habit. It sounds easy, it might not be as easy to do, but the more you do it, it becomes easier and easier. So from now on, whenever you start to get into a speaking situation, if you're anxious about it, if you're worried about it, just put your focus on towards using your new speaking style. Put your focus on towards breathing, extending, and blending. Put your focus towards, let's say, modeling, right? Modeling is not something that we are going to go a lot deep into inside this session. Maybe we can do that in some rest of the sessions. We also have a lot of stuff on that in the past. And sometimes, believe it or not, just breathing. just slowing down, just extending and blending, just the idea of doing that can get your focus on towards modeling. And then you can be focusing on modeling in the next instant, right? Now, what you're doing is that you're constantly focusing on using your new speaking style. How would my model speak? Breathing and slowing down. You're just not giving your brain, your mind, time and space to think about, to worry about the rest of the stuff. And just like Michael mentioned, it's not something that you have to do for your entire life. Right now, I'm not focused on modeling. I'm not focused on breathing, extending, and blending. It's happening on its own. Why? Because I did it for such a long period of time that now my mind, my brain just knows how to do it on its own. I no longer have to focus on it. And that is the point where it becomes automatic, where your new speaking style becomes automatic. You start to use your new speaking style on your own without even the need to focus on. But that takes time. That takes a consistent amount of work. That takes consistent repetition over time. When I say repetition, I mean constant practicing when you're by yourself, then constantly using your new speaking style in every single speaking situation. Some people feel like right now I'm with my family, right now I'm with my mom, I'm with my dad, I'm with my friends. I'm used to the way I speak with them. Maybe they are used to the way I speak with them. So maybe right here, I don't really need to focus on using my new speaking style. I only need to focus on it when I would be speaking to my boss, when I would need to give a presentation, when I would need to give a speech. That is the point where I would need to focus on. But guess what? For most of the times, it wouldn't work in high pressure until and unless you're doing it in low pressure, low to no pressure. So you have to do the practices by yourself. You have to use them in low pressure. You have to use them in medium pressure. You have to use them in high pressure. It works like that. Every single time you open your mouth to speak, remember to use your new speaking style. Constant reminder needs to be in there. And it needs to be really every single speaking situation. Because if you're just using it there and not using it here, you're not giving it a chance to be imprinted and impressed upon your brain. The automaticity would only be reached when it's in every single speaking situation. That is something that is incredibly important, whether it's your friends, whether it's your family, school, work, whether you're feeling at ease, whether you're not feeling at ease, whether you're feeling anxious, excited, whatever it is, use your new speaking style. And sometimes you might forget, like just like I mentioned, you might use it and then you focus, and then your mind takes you back towards your old speaking style, bring your focus back. Then your mind takes your focus back, bring your focus back. You would need to keep doing that over and over again in every single speaking situation. Michael, would you like to add something?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, it's better. All right. So, yeah, just wanted to say a little something about that. We've learned over the years how important it is to try to use your new speaking style, whatever that means. Let's just say it's breathing and extending, right? Breathing, extending, and blending. To try to do that in no to low pressure speaking situations, meaning, just like you said, by yourself, where there's virtually no pressure, and with friends and family or around people with whom you don't really feel any pressure. Why is that important? It's important because when you're around certain people or when you're by yourself, most of the time, you don't have to think of the content. You might just be shooting the breeze. You might just be talking about anything. You might just be flowing, right? So the cognitive load that you have to think about what to say is much lower. The pressure is much lower, if not absent, when you're by yourself and around certain people. So when is the best time for you to practice, right? To develop this new pattern of speaking and of focusing on more constructive things, the best time to do it is when you have less of a cognitive load, meaning there's not a lot of pressure to think about what to say, or who's there. Again, by yourself, yes, but also when you're around friends and family, or even colleagues that you feel comfortable around. You want to practice, right? This is the only way that your brain can develop this new pattern. So I just wanted to throw that in there because a lot of times people will try to use or practice their new speaking style under pressure at work, in meetings. Yes, we want you to do it there too. But often they'll say things like, well, when I was in the meeting, everything that I thought, everything that I knew how to do went out the window. I just wasn't able to do it. But this is why you have to do it when you don't need to do it. Now, your brain may trick you and say, oh, I don't feel like doing it now. I don't need to do it now. They understand me. They know this is the way I speak. I feel comfortable, right? But those are the times, those are the exact times when you do need to do it, because those are the times that will wire in this new pattern of thinking or new pattern of speaking, making it easier for you when you are under pressure. So that's my point, right? Make it easy for yourself when you get under pressure by trying and really pushing yourself to use it when there's no to low pressure.
Thank you, Michael, for this great point once again. And like we talked about focus, it needs to be in there before speaking situations. It needs to be in there while you're speaking, that constant reminder that we spoke. There is even something that you need to focus on or that you should focus on after you speak. And that is, let's say you started working on your speech and then you went out and you spoke to someone. Although your speech was not 100%, but it was still a lot better than how it used to be before you started working on your speech. Or it's a lot better than the last speaking situation that you just had. What our minds would do usually is that they would focus on what is not good right now, what is still not happening. And we have been hearing it a lot, we have heard it a lot. I'm working on my speech, it's still not working, or it's not working most of the times, or some of the times. You need to focus on that consistent progress that you are making. Look out for small successes. And once again, the point of focus gets in right here. Learn to focus on your successes. Remember, I mentioned towards the start of the meeting, what you focus on grows. So even when you're working on your speech, you would be experiencing a lot of successes. But if you still focus on the failures, if you still focus on what's not going well, then those failures might start to rise up. On the other hand, if you focus a lot on the successes, you're happy about the successes, you're celebrating the success, you're focusing on successes a lot, no matter how small. Even if you were feeling more at ease, more relaxed than before, even that is a success. Even if you said one sentence very smoothly that you used to struggle with in the past, even that idea, that aspect is a success. So focus on successes a lot as well. And in the system, we say that it's very advisable to even write down or journal your speaking successes before you go to sleep every day. Because when you're looking out for successes, you try to look back and you might, at the night, you might have in your mind that this wasn't a very successful day. But when you would scan the whole day once again, you would find a few successes or probably many of them. When I was speaking to my mom, I think it was a lot more smoother than before. That's a success. So let's write it down. In that way, what you're doing is that you're focusing on your successes. And when you keep focusing on the successes start to grow as well. And when you know that I have to journal my successes at night, it would also make you to look out for speaking situations so that you can experience successes. That is another important point. You do not just need to take advantage of speaking situations that come your way. you also need to put yourself out there in speaking situations just to practice your speech. And I know I've mentioned it a lot. What I used to do, I used to make phone calls to my friends almost every day, and they used to feel like I'm making a phone call to speak with them, but it was mostly just to practice my speech. All right, so let's make a phone call to my friend, and while I speak to him, I would focus on breathing and slowing down. Or while I speak to him, I would focus on breathing, extending, and blending. Or let's speak to him and let's focus on modeling. You need to be doing that consistently. Not only wait for speaking situations, but be proactive, go out to supermarkets, speak to people, make more phone calls. And Michael has mentioned it a lot that our best clients, and that is certainly the fact, are the ones who have busiest of lives. Sometimes people feel like, I don't know if I can work on my speech with the system because I have a lot to do every single day. Well, that's good because it means that if you have a lot to do, you also have a lot of speaking situations. So, in order to change your speech, in order to transform your speech, you have to speak a lot, and speak using your new speaking style over and over again, consistently until you get towards what you want. In short, what we have said so far, just very, very brief. The first thing, you need to have a long term focus of becoming an amazing and excellent speaker. Instead of, I'm going into the system, I will be working on my speech to not stutter, to not stammer. Stuttering, stammering, everything would take care of itself once you work on towards becoming the best of speakers. Then you need to work on your mindset, you need to work on your speaking identity, you need to work on the proactive speaking skills every single day over a long period of time. You need to keep doing the personal practices. You need to keep focusing on your new speaking style in low pressure, in medium pressure, in high pressure every single time. You need to be focusing on using your new speaking style before speaking situations, while you're speaking in speaking situations over and over again. And then try to look out for successes. What is going right? Because you need to look out for small successes. There's a snowball effect. It keeps building up as you keep moving forward. And a point would come where you would reach and you would find out that now this new speaking style is automatic to me. But it would only happen with consistent practices and consistent usage of your new speaking style.
Yeah, for very, very good. These are things that you absolutely want to keep in mind. Sometimes just this idea of focus can be the difference between success and failure, right? What you focus on. And we're giving you some of the tools and tricks, if you will, to help you control what you focus on. And the big one that Farouk mentioned was self-talk, what you say to yourself. So if you're not aware of what you're thinking and what you're saying in the moment, it's extremely difficult, if not almost impossible, to change your focus and therefore to change your speech. So becoming aware of what you're thinking and what you're saying to yourself before you speak throughout the day, while you're speaking, believe it or not, there is self-talk or there's an automatic program or programs running that you have to become. And these programs are subconscious or unconscious. You want to be aware of what they are, at least what some of them are. And that's what we do. We're aware of many, most, I'm not going to say all, of course, but we're aware of these programs, these beliefs, and we can help you become aware of them and then give you the new thing that you should be focused on. That's how we can help you because we have years and years of experience. We've experienced it personally. I grew up stuttering. So 25, almost 25 or 30 years, Farouk grew up stuttering. And we're kind of on the other side of that. Again, doesn't mean that our speech is 100% fluent 100% of the time, because we both know that it's not. But we no longer see ourselves as people who stutter.
which is huge because we've changed our belief, our identity, and we're able to speak at high levels under pressure. So this is very important. The reason that I tell you this is because we also, because this is what we study and this is what we do, we're aware of a lot of the speech patterns, the programming, and you have to become aware of them so that you can change them. So that's something that I wanted to add. Also, this idea of becoming aware of what you're saying to yourself in the moment in terms of what you don't want to do. I don't want to do this. I hope I don't. Sometimes you might not even be aware that that's what you're thinking. So try to become aware of that. And then, like Farouk said, focusing on and reminding yourself and celebrating your wins, your successes. We often are so focused on the failures, which is kind of normal, right? It's kind of normal for us to do that. To focus on what's going wrong, what we are not able to do, what we didn't do, what went bad, that we don't see how far we've actually come. So we lose momentum, we become discouraged. But actually, we've come a long way and we're actually doing very well. And we've actually come a long way very quickly, faster than what you would think. So when you focus on your successes, I like to say focus on just one small unit of success. You'll build traction, and that traction is momentum, and it's encouragement, and it's hope, and it will keep you moving forward. If you only focus on the fact that I'm still getting stuck, I'm still not able to do this, I can't do that, want to do this, but I can't, you'll get discouraged and you'll start looking for something else. And you'll just be bouncing around from one video to another one, from one program to another one therapy to another. But the fact is, all you had to do was follow these principles that we're sharing with you in terms of focusing on small successes, understanding that your speaking patterns, your thinking patterns, and your identity are all things that can be replaced with new ones. And that these are things that you have to consistently work on every day, and that it's best to start working on them in no to low pressure speaking situations because it's going to require less of you. And because of the fact that it requires less, it's going to make it easier for you to do it. And all of that means is that you are now tapping into and using Hebb's law, neurons that fire together, wire together. What does that mean? That means the more you repeat something, a behavior, an action, a thought, then the more it gets wired in, the more it becomes your natural way of doing things. So those are very, very important things for you to remember. That's all that I have, Farouk. Yeah, why don't we say a little bit about the club, and then we'll share some links and we'll send some stuff out by email for those who have registered. But if you want to explain just a little bit about the speech club, and I'll post the link here.
Right. So recently, many of the people might also know that we have also started the Pro 90 Virtual Speech Masters Club. And that is something what we were being asked by clients a lot. So I think we started it the end of last year. And it is a great place to use whatever you have been learning from the Pro 90 speech system. So members join there, they get the opportunity to give speeches and presentations, and then they get feedback from myself as well, from Michael as well, from all of the people, and we get to meet every single week. And it's just 120 USD for 6 months that I believe is a lot less than what it is really worth. But we already have seen some incredible improvements in some clients. And we have been doing it for around 4 to 5 months now because you get to use whatever you have been learning right in the moment with ourselves, with all of the people that are part of the speech system. And that feedback helps you keep improving and helps you keep moving on towards the next level. If you would like some more help, you guys can also work one-on-one with Michael or myself, and you can accelerate your progress towards smooth and excellent speech. And or the best part is that you can do both. You can do the coaching as well, the speech masters as well. That is where it starts to really build up from there. So yeah.
All right, so I've posted a couple of links for you. One is to the Speech Masters Club. The other is to Farouk's coaching page. And if you give me a moment, I will post one final link. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask us now, either on YouTube or here. And Farouk and I are here and able to answer those questions for you if you have any questions.
Yeah, if you guys have something to ask, feel free to mention it on YouTube. Let's say if you're right there, or if you're right here on Zoom, you can also post in any questions or comments right here if you like. So anything you guys have to mention or anything you guys have to ask, you can let us know right here. If no, we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up. We'll wrap up in a few. And but if there is something, feel free to do that. Deepak,
Great.
I've got much more benefits from you. Thank you both. That to you both. Thank you, Deepak. I hope you keep working on your speech. I hope you keep improving. Any questions for us? Jade
We
was
do
here.
want to
Yeah,
encourage you to check out the Speech Masters Club, especially if you're in the system. When you get the club membership, you also get the Pro 90D Smooth Speech System, the course itself, because you have to be on the same page with everyone else. So it's a bundle, it's a bonus. Join the club, and then you can actually put into practice what you're learning under pressure in a supportive and fun environment. We meet virtually every Saturday, unless there's a holiday or something, but virtually every Saturday we meet. So it's an excellent resource for you to come join. We have lots of fun, and of course you learn. And then, like Farouk said, if you want to, and if you need to accelerate your progress, so if you're watching this, you've got interviews coming up, important meetings and presentations which are going to impact your career, you want to accelerate your progress. The very fastest way to do that is to work with one of us one-on-one. That's simply the fastest way. You're not going to get there as fast by yourself. You can get there. It's not going to take you forever, but you're just going to get there faster working with someone, working with us. Okay, so we've put all the links there. And is there anything else, Farouk?
I don't think so.
Okay, very good. All right, guys, thank you so much. We will, again, virtually every week, we'll have one or two things going on. We'll have our Speech Masters Club, or we'll have a special webinar or YouTube Live. So something's going to be going on every week. All right. Okay. So we'll see you all next time. And thank you, Farouk. Did an awesome job today.
You, Michael, and look forward to seeing everybody next. Thank you.
Hey, Farouk, I will go ahead and let me just stop the recording here. I'll paste the link so you and I can meet afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. We'll see you all. Thank you all.